Greetings and welcome. Welcome to SEM Mondays. I do indeed think we are going. As you come on in, please type something in the chat. Shoot some emojis. Let me know that you can see me and hear me. I'm going to officially greet you and welcome you to SEM Mondays, my weekly live open Q&A and expanded version, which also includes a group energy healing session. I keep saying these days, but it's been coming up on a year now. And I am super grateful for the opportunity to be able to have been blessed with the, just to be able to do this, right? To be able to come here every day and connect from the comfort and safety of our own homes as a way to support you, not only on your journey with Source Energy Medicine, but in these very unsettling times, right? So we've got a lot of exciting things going on here, and always curious to see who's with us. So thank you, Barbara Ann. Good afternoon to you, my friend. Thank you for the emoji. And Ada, thank you for that. Quick update. If you were with me last week, you know about which to me is very exciting news about our transition to becoming a 501c3 nonprofit organization. And I'm highly confident that this is absolutely going to help to ensure that Source Energy Medicine stays openly and freely available. And not just now, not just until COVID goes away, but long term, for generations and generations to come. We have been offering Source Energy Medicine for free for a long time, many years, and it is definitely not how we started. So it's been a bit of a wild journey since 2005, and I really like the feel of this. So if you missed all of that information, there'll be a link in the show notes to this. You can watch a video where I explain why we're doing what we're doing and how we're doing it. But the big pieces and the bit that I want to update you on is our fundraising campaign, right? We're doing this first stage of fundraising campaigns to be able to make this transition. And our goal is $6,000. And as of this morning, we just crossed the halfway mark. So, which is awesome. And thank you to those of you who have contributed, who, spoke with your dollars, if you will, right? And I'm a big fan of public radio in that I listen to WBGO from Newark, where I was my mother's hometown, and we moved there when I was probably 5 and lived there till I was 17. And WBGO is, my humble opinion, the greatest jazz radio station, period. And it's one of the few remaining jazz radio stations. And I think, so I've been listening to WBGO since the late 70s, and that was, when I was still living in my parents' house. But then I started listening again, like late 80s, probably 1987. And one of the things in thinking about this transition to becoming a nonprofit organization is, well, why is it that WBGO is one of the few remaining jazz stations in the nation? And I'm highly confident that it's because it's public radio, right? It's supported by its listeners. It's not supported by corporations that buy advertising, and all of the commercial jazz radio stations, they're all gone for the most part. There might be, I think there are 3 left in the country. And here too, really a far cry from what WBGO offers. And yet, listening to, I remember in the 80s when I was listening to WBGO, I'd get annoyed every time they would do a fundraising campaign. And I didn't support it in the beginning. I took it for granted. And I have a friend, actually, who I grew up with who worked at WBGO. And we were talking one day about all of this. And a couple of things just really struck me. One, it's a very small percentage of their listeners that actually support the radio station, that covers their operating expenses, that, you go to 88.3 on the FM dial if you're in the New York metro area, or WBGO.org, and you expect it to stream. Well, it doesn't stream unless you support it, right? And it's been interesting because I've been listening to their fundraising campaigns pretty carefully lately, and I listen to Colorado Public Radio too. And one of the things over the years that really has struck me about fundraising is I was at one of Jeff Walker's events. So if you don't know, he's the creator of Product Launch Formula. He teaches people how to do business online, pretty much, how to launch online courses and things like that. He is at the top of his game and has been there longer than all of his colleagues. There's like no one left, who started when he did. 15 years or so he's been teaching people how to do stuff online. And I was at one of his events probably about 3 years ago, and 1,000 people in a room, very high level of excitement and energy. He's a big Tony Robbins fan, so loud music, get you jumping around just to keep your energy moving and to keep you awake. And he does, as part of his live events, a fundraising campaign for a nonprofit organization that he believes in. And this one was for a friend of his, Stu McLaren, and Stu is the creator of Tribe. And he and his wife have this nonprofit organization. She's a former teacher. They have this nonprofit organization where they build schools in Africa, where otherwise they would have no schools. And here we are, 1,000 people in this room, all entrepreneurs or wannabe entrepreneurs. And, people absolutely with privilege, no question about it. I don't remember how much it was to attend the event, but, people flew from all around the world. So, certainly privileged people for sure. And one thing that really, really struck me was Jeff kept saying over and over and over that, he does a lot of masterminds, and I was part of one of his coaching programs for about 2 years. And he likes communities where 100% of the people buy in, 100% of the people contribute. And he talks about that in his masterminds and his coaching programs. And he brought that into this, 1,000-person event where they're trying to raise money to build schools in Africa, which, pretty phenomenal cause. And so this went on for 3 days. And he would, do his pitch every so often, and he would give an update as to how many people were contributing. And in my mind, we'll raise $1 million easily in these 3 days. They're like, how could we not? And it was far, far, far from that in terms of what they raised. And it was far from 100% of the people in a room contributed. And I get it on one hand, and yet it annoys me on the other, right? They're not public radio. People are there to learn how to launch a product. And here he is doing a fundraising campaign to build schools for children in Africa who otherwise would go without an education. Of course, having a proper education is the key to really having a chance at life, not just in Africa, but an awful lot of parts of the world. So that stuck with me. And in thinking about this campaign, here we have a relatively small community compared to Product Launch Formula, especially, but very, very different niches, right? Typically, if you can teach somebody how to make money, you have a massive following. And that's essentially what Jeff Walker does. So, but I love the notion of, and he talked about why he wants to be in a room where 100% of the people contribute. And he talked about things like similar values and seeing the world as bigger than just myself and wanting to help those who are less fortunate. I believe it was Ogmandino who said that it is our moral responsibility to help those financially who are less fortunate than we are. And if you think about it, wherever you are financially, there's always someone less fortunate, always. And, that's a poignant piece. And so here we have, different ways of measuring the size of our community, but we have over 1,000 people who have registered for our quick start guide. They've downloaded the charging labels, and we have no way of tracking who's making them, who's taking them, and who's, but that's the only metric that I have to go by. We have 1,000 people in our free online course. And the number of people, I'd be curious what you think. How many people of those 1,000 who have, either they were here on SEM Mondays or they opened one of my emails going out over the last week, how many people do you think were responsible for raising the just over $3,000? And I'm just going to pause for a second because I'd be curious to see, what you think. So, if we have 1,000 people and 100% of the people contributed, then it's a different story, right? And I really want to stress that, honestly, last week when we launched this fundraising campaign, I thought we'd raise $6,000 in a day, maybe two. I certainly didn't think I'd be standing here today talking about this yet again, and yet here I am. And the to me very sad and also very beautiful. The beautiful part first is the people that contributed the $3,000 were very, 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 very generous. No question about it. And it was a very, 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 like 10 people on average, I think it was, that contributed. So there's 990 folks in our community that either, sure, not everyone opened an email, not everyone knows what we're doing. And some people just don't care, right? They just assume that one way or another we'll figure it out, and they'll show up, and they'll Tony Robbins partnered with Dean Graziosi. I think it was about a year and a half ago, and Tony and Dean have been doing some really amazing workshops. And I have a couple of, I have a lot of Tony Robbins books. I have a couple of Dean's books. And I don't remember which book it was, but, Dean talked about in life, we could look at everyone in life and we could put them into two categories. There are those that uplift, inspire, contribute, positively influence everyone that they encounter. And then there are others who just they drain, they just like suck the life. They suck. These are his words. Suck the life. Suck the energy. Take everything without ever thinking about giving. And I remember hearing that, and I could certainly relate to that, right? In terms of just people that I spend time with. And his point was to spend time with people who are the contributors, who are the uplifters, who are the ones who are looking like, how can I help, my friends, my neighbors, my community, my siblings, everyone that I encounter. Because if you do see this world through metaphysical lenses, everyone who I encounter is sent from God. God put them here for a reason. And whether it's the checkout person at my local organic grocery store, or, customer service person on Amazon, or, delivery person coming to my front door, or somebody I encountered down at the post office, like there's a reason for that, right? And I think the more I pay attention to what's that reason, right? What's the gift that I have to extend, and what's the gift that I have to receive from that person, right? How can I help them? How can they help me? How can I support them? How can they support me? So, with 1,000 people, if everyone just contributed, $10, we would be in a really, really good, strong financial position for carrying forward into the rest of 2021. And, with 10 people contributing, there's no way we'd be able to sustain this notion, right, of becoming a nonprofit organization. So I hope that makes sense. And, I think it's, I remember when I listened to WBGO and I wouldn't contribute, I would always think, there are wealthy people who, take the massive tax deduction, and there's enough of them that, it doesn't really matter. Nobody's going to know if I don't contribute or I do contribute. And I got to tell you, since I have been consistently contributing, I feel like I'm part of that community in a deeper and more meaningful way when I listen. I listen from a place of ownership, right? Because I am in parts like a cooperative. And that's what, it's interesting because in all of these conversations, I said to one of my attorneys, I said, can you run this like community-supported agriculture? And she didn't know what community-supported agriculture was, so I kind of had to explain it. Or a co-op, right? Like an art gallery that's a co-op, right? Where all of the artists who exhibit and sell their work in the co-op, they work there, they run it, right? They all put in their amount of time doing the cash register stuff and cleaning and just right, they run the operation. And the short story is this is the best model for us, right? And I love the notion of, and this is so transitioning to a nonprofit organization, you're going to hear me doing fundraising all the time. And I hope we could get to a point where, moving forward, you'll be able to contribute on a monthly basis so that you don't even have to think about it. If you don't have to think about it and we have enough people who do that on a monthly basis, then we'll never have to talk about it, right? So, and it's interesting also because there is one person in our community who, if she did not make her contribution last week, I don't know what I would have been talking about today, because she was very, 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 very generous with her contribution. And on one hand, there again, super grateful, just like such a warm, caring, loving offer. And it gave me such hope, such inspiration, such confidence that together we can do this. So, there are 2 thank yous that I'm offering to help to give you even more incentive to support our transition. And the first one is the special masterclass that we produced on emergency preparedness. It was really, it came out of the whole COVID pandemic. People wanted to know what to do prophylactically as well as what to do should signs or symptoms arise. So for a contribution of $222, you have access to that. And if you've already registered for that, then a contribution of $111 will give you access to our brand new Source Energy Medicine mobile app, which enables you to, enables you to make Source Energy Medicine from your mobile phone. The charging labels are formatted in a way on the mobile phone. All of the charging labels that are outlined in the protocols in the emergency preparedness class are available in there, as well as all of the standard fusion source energy medicines. So to me, it's like within the emergency preparedness class, I talked about preparing an emergency preparedness kit. And this mobile app to me is the ultimate emergency preparedness kit, right? Your kit, which, consists of a lot of different things, it could get damaged, it could get destroyed. Mobile phone, of course, could get damaged and destroyed, but if it doesn't, I think it gives you greater flexibility and another option, right? You have two really good viable options. So I hope that makes sense. And if neither of those options are a good fit for you, there's a link in the show notes below where we're just using our regular scholarship fund page where you can contribute. There are set amounts. It's really super easy. You can do multiples of 2 or 3. Because it's a little bit awkward the way you can create a page like that. And if you want to contribute an amount other than those that are available, just let us know, right? Do live chat, send us an email, anything to help to let us know. So I hope that all makes sense. And I would like to transition into doing the group non-material source energy medicine session as a way to continue to support you during this still unsettling time for most of us. So every week I talk about a lot of the things, and it seems like more or less the same folks show up for SEM Mondays. So there's a really good video. I think it's a really good video on our YouTube channel about the energy healing component of source energy medicine is known as the non-material aspect of source energy medicine. So If you don't know about it already, you can just simply experience this session now. When we're done, watch that video, and what you will learn in that video will likely take your experience to greater levels of potential and possibility, right? I think the most important things for you to know is it's completely safe. We're simply transforming slow energy to fast energy. We're not combating or fighting or stirring up things like emotions or pathogens that then we have to process in some way, right? So the work is phenomenally fast. This will probably be 5 or 7 minutes, something like that. I don't talk when I'll talk to help to relax you, because your job really is to simply allow, simply receive. And so if you are an integrative wellness practitioner, if you do some kind of energy work, I strongly encourage you to just receive, right? Not do any of those other things while you're receiving this session, but just let the session unfold the way it will for you. And I always encourage you to choose one goal or one challenge to work on. And the logic there is if you have 5, it's really difficult to track. Now there's massive added benefit to coming back and either watching the replay from this SEM Mondays again, or any of the replays that we've done almost last 12 months now. From feedback that we've received, that I've received from folks in our community, there are a lot of people who have been watching a replay of SEM Mondays once or twice or 3 times to help to keep, all of the things that are most important for your health and well-being, I can do in this mini session, right? So energy level, transforming subconscious mind. And if none of that makes any sense to you, it will as you continue to dive into source energy medicine and learn more about it. So it's also really important for you to know that even though it looks like I am the facilitator, you are always healing yourself. And I think that's true across the board, regardless of the methodology, even in allopathic medicine. So I think that's an empowering perspective, because it's that divinity within you that has the ability to enable you to be self-balancing, self-healing, and self-correcting. More often than not, the work is simply transforming, balancing, and restoring that which prevent that from happening naturally, right? So I'll begin to prepare things on my end technically. On your end, just get as comfortable as you possibly can. A minimum of distractions. So, if you have ringers and stuff on, just turn your ringers off. It's, again, 5 or 7 minutes. It's a really, really small time to unplug from anything that would possibly take you out of this experience, right? So, when I'm done, we'll come back and I'll check the chat, see if there are any questions, and then we will wrap up for today. So I invite you to take a nice deep breath. There'll be chanting in the background, and that's simply to let you know that the live stream is continuing, and I turn my camera off so that it's not distracting on your end. And I invite you to take another nice deep breath. And simply allow this session to unfold for you quickly, under grace, in divine, perfect, and miraculous ways. Trust in the divine orchestration that led you here today, or whenever it is that you're watching the replay. And as you think of that one thing that you would like to receive in terms of working on a goal or a challenge, I invite you to see it from the end, if you will. And that is to say, see it as being fully realized, fully manifested, fully experienced in every way that it possibly can be. Every way that possibly can be experienced, and every way that it possibly can be measured. Continue to breathe comfortably. And as much as possible, try and see yourself and your life through the eyes of the source of all creation. And I believe if you were to ask the source of all creation how the source of all creation sees you, you would hear, you are whole, you are innocent, you are perfect, you are timeless, you are an eternal being. There is nothing that you cannot achieve or accomplish. There's nothing that is outside the scope of potential or possibility. Continue to breathe comfortably. Continue to relax into this work. And continue to receive. invite you to take a nice deep breath. And if your eyes are closed, please go ahead and slowly blink them open. And come on back to here and now in this time-space reality. And this broadcast on YouTube and SEM Mondays. Well, my friends, that each of these is always unique and special and a blessing. Again, I'm not really the doer in this, right? You are always the doer. And everyone who participates in each session brings something unique, something different. No one could ever take away. We can only add, contribute, and uplift. So while each one is unique, watching the replay to any, in theory, has very similar potential and possibility, and yet there are an awful lot of folks who do believe that there are some that stand out from others. So I think it's kind of like, I don't know, becoming an aficionado of anything. The more energy healing you experience, especially the non-material aspect of source energy medicine, the greater discernment you will have for how that was for you, right? So, and it really honestly doesn't have anything to do with like how I'm feeling this day or if I am well prepared for it or not. And it's not to, let me off. I'm not saying that to let me off the hook, but this is always, always, always a process that you lead the experience on, right? You're setting the pace, the tone, the tempo, the limits or lack thereof, potential and possibilities. So I hope that makes sense. And thank you in advance for supporting our fundraising campaign to transition to becoming a 501c3 nonprofit organization, and for your helping to ensure that Source Energy Medicine remains openly and freely available for all, helping to ensure that every Monday, God willing, we'll have a SEM Mondays live and a chance to connect in this way, and our online workshops will continue to be available to folks around the world from the comfort and safety of our own homes. So, God willing, I will see you here live next Monday, and between now and then, I wish you continued blessings on your journey with Source Energy Medicine. Bye for now.